4 minutes away from ending the world. And not one single creature on this planet looked up. Neither would you. Don't sit there feeling superior. You can't find your own car in a car park. Now, turn off the cartoon. Yes, that one. The one with the foxes. I am not going to ask what is happening in it, and you are not going to tell me. 15 minutes, that is all I want. 15 minutes of you learning something of actual consequence, and then you may go straight back to it, and I will never speak of this again. You know the headline. Big rock, dinosaurs die, birds happen, roll credits. What you do not know, because nobody ever bothers to tell you, is what actually happened, minute by minute. So we're going to stand there and watch. The day before. Let's establish what we're about to lose, because the dinosaurs is not an answer. It's a shrug with a mouth attached. Montana and the Dakotas are a warm, humid coastal floodplain on the shore of an inland sea. Palm trees, crocodilians, 75 inches of rain a year. There are duck-billed hadrosaurs in herds. There is Triceratops, which in some rock beds is the single most common large animal you find. There is Tyrannosaurus, which has been running that landscape for over 1 million years and has no reason to think that will stop. This is not a world winding down. This is a world in extremely good working order, and it has about a day left. 4 minutes out. The asteroid is roughly 10 kilometers across, 6 miles. If you dropped it on London, it would cover the entire city and stick out the top. It is moving at about 20 kilometers per second, 60 times faster than a rifle bullet. 4 minutes out, it is already closer to you than New York is to London. And the sky looks completely normal. That's the part people can't accept. No warning shot, no rumble, no ominous music, because the universe does not do foreshadowing, you overcooked sausage. It does not care that you were not ready. It has never once cared. Somewhere down there, a Triceratops is eating a fern and having what is statistically an excellent day. 1 second out. Now it enters the atmosphere. And here is the thing that ought to bother you. The atmosphere does nothing. 80 kilometers of air, the entire sky, everything between you and space. The rock crosses all of it in about a second. It doesn't slow down. It doesn't burn up. It doesn't even really notice. For 1 second, there is a column of superheated air punched clean through the sky, and anything looking directly at it is already blind. And then it arrives. Impact. It hits shallow water off what is now the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, at an angle of about 60 degrees from horizontal. That sounds like a detail. It is not a detail. That is the single worst angle it could possibly have chosen. Straight down would have dug deeper and thrown less. A grazing hit would have skipped most of the energy back out into space. 60 degrees excavates the maximum amount of rock and throws it the maximum distance. Of all the ways for this to go, the universe rolled the worst one. Plus 1 second. The rock is gone, vaporized. So is a chunk of the Earth's crust the size of a mountain range. The hole is about 100 kilometers wide and, briefly, deeper than the Himalayas are tall. It will not stay that way. Rock at these pressures behaves like a liquid. The floor of that crater is about to rebound upward and slosh, and it will freeze in place as a ring of peaks that are still down there, buried right now. Energy released, on the most cited estimates, is around 100 million megatons. Every nuclear weapon ever built, detonated at once, is a rounding error next to it. I'll wait while you pretend that number means something to you. It doesn't. Nothing in your soft little life has prepared you to feel a number that size. Plus 10 seconds. Everything within about 1,000 kilometers is simply gone. Not damaged. Gone. The air itself is on fire. moving outward as a shockwave faster than sound. And above the crater, a column of vaporized rock is being flung up out of the atmosphere entirely. That is what actually kills the planet, not the bang, the stuff that goes up. Because everything that goes up has to come down, and it has to come down through the air. Yes, even you could have worked that one out. Congratulations, you decorative gourd. You've done physics, plus 2 minutes. The seismic wave arrives at the edges of the continent, magnitude 11 or greater. There is no modern earthquake to compare it to, because nothing in recorded history has come close. Every fault line within thousands of kilometers slips at once. Landslides collapse into the sea on continental scales. Somewhere in the middle of North America, the ground is not shaking. The ground is rolling in waves, like water. Plus 10 minutes. The water comes back. The impact punched a hole in the ocean, and the ocean is now filling it back in. Modeling puts the initial wave at close to a mile high. Not a mile long, a mile high. Read that again, slowly. Move your lips if it helps. Nobody's watching. It collapses inward, rebounds outward, and sends waves out into the Atlantic and Pacific that will still be moving hours from now. There are deposits in Texas and Mexico that are just jumbled rubble, hundreds of feet thick, laid down in an afternoon. Plus 30 minutes. Now the sky catches fire. All that vaporized rock is coming back down, and it re-enters exactly the way a meteor does. Millions of them, everywhere, at once. The upper atmosphere glows. Some models put the surface heat at oven temperatures for anything from minutes to hours. And I'll be straight with you, because I don't lie to you. How bad this got, and exactly where, is still argued about. Shielded spots, burrows, water, caves did better. But the broad picture is not in dispute. For a while, the sky itself was a heat lamp, and it was pointed at everything. Plus 1 hour. And this is where it gets genuinely eerie. There is a site in the Hell Creek Badlands of North Dakota, 1,900 miles from the crater, where fossil fish have been found with impact glass lodged in their gills. If that reading holds, those animals died within roughly an hour of the strike, buried by a surge of water thrown up the river valley by the seismic wave before the ocean could possibly have arrived. Now, that interpretation is contested, genuinely contested, by serious people, and I'm telling you up front rather than letting you find out later. But if it holds, it isn't a fossil site. It's a security camera, pointed at the worst hour in the history of life. And before you ask how anyone knows any of this, good. Finally, one decent question out of you. In 1980, a physicist and his geologist son found a thin clay layer laid down at exactly the extinction, absurdly rich in iridium, a metal that is rare in the Earth's crust and common in asteroids. Same layer, same chemistry, all over the world. They said, something hit us, and they were laughed at for about a decade. Then somebody remembered that oil geologists in Mexico had found a giant buried circular structure in the 1970s and filed it away as uninteresting. A 180-kilometer crater. Right age, right chemistry, shocked quartz all around it. So no, nobody was standing there with a stopwatch. We reconstructed that hour out of a clay layer, a gravity map, and some fish that never got to finish swimming. Plus 1 day. The fires are out, or dying, and now the actual killer arrives, and it is not fire, and it is not water. It's the dust, The rock down there was limestone and gypsum, sulfur-rich. The impact turned hundreds of billions of tons of it into sulfate aerosol and threw it into the stratosphere. 70% of this planet is ocean. It could have hit water and ruined an afternoon. Instead, it found the gypsum. And sulfate in the stratosphere does two things. It blocks sunlight going in, and it comes back down as acid. So the rain, when it returns, is not going to help. Nothing is going to help. That's rather the theme, and you'd have spotted it by now if you were paying attention instead of reading the comments. Plus 1 week. The sun goes out, not metaphorically. Sunlight at the surface drops far enough that photosynthesis largely stops. And photosynthesis stopping is not a plant problem, whatever you're picturing. Plants are the bottom of everything. Everything above them is now running on stored energy and nothing else. Here is the detail that decides who lives, and almost nobody tells you this one. A forest runs on sunlight. A river does not. A river runs on rubbish, dead leaves, silt, things that washed in and rotted. That kind of food chain does not care whether the sun is out, which is why, when you look at what survived, it is a suspiciously damp list. Crocodilians, turtles, freshwater fish. They didn't outfight anything. They were standing in the one pantry that stayed stocked, plus 1 month. Global temperatures crash. Estimates for the land surface run to a drop of well over 10 degrees Celsius, and in places far more. This is the impact winter, and it does not last a week. The plant eaters go first, because they run out of plants. A triceratops needs an enormous amount of vegetation every day, and there is now none of it anywhere. Then the meat eaters, because they run out of plant eaters, and the big ones are worst off, every single time. Being large means needing more, and needing more is the one thing you cannot do now. No roaring, no last stand. I know that's not what you wanted, you great romantic lump. The most successful animals in the history of the planet simply got hungry and then got quiet, plus 1 year. The dust starts to clear, and now the other problem arrives. All that carbon dioxide the impact released is still there, and with the dust gone, it stops blocking heat and starts trapping it. So the freezing is followed by warming. The survivors of the cold now have to survive the swing back. Roughly 3/4 of all species on Earth do not. Every land animal, much bigger than a Labrador, is gone. Every single one. Plus 100 years. And now something genuinely strange shows up in the rock. Ferns. Ferns everywhere. In the pollen record, right above the boundary, fern spores absolutely dominate. The fern spike, as it's called. Ferns are what turns up first, after a volcano, after a landslide, after a fire. They are the weeds of catastrophe. Pull a core out of the ground and read it upward, and you get a normal world. Then a thin layer of ash and glass, and then